It hit me like a punch to the gut. The woman I married, the woman I loved, was hiding something from me. I didn't want to believe it, but when I saw the text, I knew. "I can't wait to see you tonight." My mind screamed, but my heart refused to listen. My wife, my best friend, had become someone I didn't recognize, and she was so far away, and not just physically. I never thought I'd find myself stalking her every move. But the pain, it was too much. Something inside me broke, and when she left for that yoga retreat, I followed her. I didn't expect to see what I did, but the moment I did, everything shattered. When she told me about the yoga retreat, I didn't think much of it. At first, I just nodded, said it sounded like a great opportunity for her. I trusted her, and there was nothing about our marriage that screamed distrust. We had our issues, sure. What couple doesn't? But I thought we were in a good place, or at least, I thought I was. Looking back now, I can pinpoint the exact moment things started to shift. It wasn't any one fight, not one huge argument, not even a revelation that made me question her loyalty. No. It was the little things, the subtle changes in her demeanor, the way she'd gotten quiet, almost distant, in the past few months. I dismissed it at first. Work stress. Friends pulling her away. I could tell she was trying to make more time for herself, but I figured we'd work it out. But the more I thought about it, the more I wondered. It was those quiet nights when she'd retreat into her phone, scrolling through Instagram or texting people I didn't know. It was the way she would get so easily annoyed at the slightest things, and how every time I tried to have a conversation about us, she'd brush it off. I'd asked her about the retreat, why she felt the need to go, why it couldn't wait. Her response was always the same. "I need this. I just need to focus on myself for a while." I'd watched her pull away slowly, her interests shifting to things that didn't include me. It wasn't anything overt. She wasn't going out with someone else, but I could feel the space growing between us. Every time I tried to reach for her, she'd slip through my fingers. And then, when she said she was going on the yoga retreat for a week, I felt that gut feeling. Something was wrong. It wasn't the retreat itself, but the timing. The way she spoke about it like it was some sort of escape, some grand journey she needed to take alone. She was gone for a week before I even realized that something had changed inside me. It wasn't just her absence. It was the way she'd packed up her things with a sense of finality, like she was stepping away from me more than just physically. She didn't even seem to notice how the silence in our house felt suffocating after she left. I didn't call her during the trip, of course. I didn't want to seem needy, or worse, controlling. She'd asked for space, and I gave it to her. But something in the pit of my stomach wouldn't let me rest. It was around the third night of her being gone that I saw it. The message. It wasn't intentional, I swear. But I noticed it. Her phone was sitting there on the kitchen counter. She had always been careful about leaving it out, but this time, she didn't. Maybe she didn't care anymore. Maybe she had nothing to hide. I couldn't say no to the curiosity burning inside me. I opened the phone, unlocked it with her password. I knew it by heart, of course, and there it was. A text message thread from an unknown number. The words jumped out at me, searing like fire. "I can't wait to see you tonight. I've been thinking about you all day." It hit me like a punch in the gut. I tried to keep my breathing steady, but I could feel my heart racing. Who was she talking to? I knew it wasn't me. I hadn't been near her in a long time, and I sure as hell wasn't the one sending her those kinds of messages. I read the entire thread, scrolling through exchanges that were flirtatious, intimate. And then there it was, the confirmation. The last text, sent just hours before I had picked up the phone. "I'll be thinking about you all weekend. I'll miss you." The room around me blurred. My head spun. The sinking feeling in my stomach shifted from curiosity to something darker, something worse. Betrayal. I slammed the phone down on the counter, nearly knocking it off the edge. What the hell was going on? Had she really? I couldn't believe it. But then again, I couldn't deny the evidence staring me right in the face. I sat there for a long time, my mind racing. I didn't want to believe it, didn't want to face the possibility of what this meant. But deep down, the signs had been there all along, hadn't they? I had just been too blind to see them. My wife, my best friend, the woman I had spent years with, was possibly cheating on me. I had to know the truth. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I had to know. So, I made a decision that night. I was going to the retreat. I wasn't going to sit around and wonder. If she was hiding something, I was going to find out. No more wondering. No more waiting for an explanation that might never come. If I was going to have my heart shattered, I was going to witness it myself. I would follow her. I'm not proud of it, but I didn't care. I wasn't thinking clearly. I wasn't thinking rationally. I just knew I couldn't keep going on like this, pretending everything was fine. This was bigger than me. It was bigger than us. And I needed answers. So I packed my bags, bought a plane ticket, and set off to find the truth. The flight to the retreat felt like it lasted an eternity. My mind wouldn't stop racing. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those texts. Again, those words that echoed in my head like a broken record. I could feel my heart thudding in my chest as the plane ascended. The sound of the engine a constant hum that matched the pulsing anxiety inside me. The retreat was located in a remote area, nestled in the mountains, far away from any distractions of daily life. It sounded so peaceful when she described it. I could hear the calmness in her voice as she spoke about it. How she was excited to reconnect with herself, to find inner peace. At the time, I had smiled and nodded, proud of her for taking this step. Now, I was about to walk into that same serene world and shatter the calm, hoping to find the pieces of our marriage that had been slowly falling apart without me noticing. As soon as I landed, I rented a car and drove for hours. The landscape changed from the bustling city to rolling hills and dense forests. I could feel the tension building in my shoulders, my hands gripping the steering wheel tighter as I drove deeper into this unknown territory. I knew where the retreat was. It wasn't hard to find with the internet. I had studied every detail, memorized the route, even the names of the instructors. I was determined not to miss anything. When I arrived at the retreat, the beauty of it was undeniable. The main building was a sprawling wooden structure with large glass windows that let in the soft golden light of the setting sun. It overlooked a serene lake, and the entire place had an aura of peace about it. People walked around barefoot, dressed in loose-fitting clothes, some practicing yoga poses in the open air, others talking quietly in small groups. It was everything she had described, and more. I felt like a complete outsider, but that was nothing compared to what I was about to do. I wasn't supposed to be here, but I didn't care. I could feel the anxiety swirling in my stomach, my pulse quickening as I parked my car and made my way toward the reception. The woman at the desk greeted me with a polite smile, asking if I needed help. I asked if they had any available accommodations. I had prepared a cover story, a late arrival, a last-minute decision to join the retreat. She checked the list and smiled again, saying there was a small room available for the week. I paid and signed the forms, and before I knew it, I was walking into my room, unpacking my bags, trying to control the storm inside me. I had come here to find answers, but as the sun set and the retreat's quiet atmosphere settled in, I felt an uncomfortable sense of isolation. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her out of my sight, not for a second. The next morning, I watched her from a distance as she participated in the group activities. She was laughing with the other attendees, looking completely at ease. Her beauty, as always, took my breath away. But there was something different in her eyes this time. She seemed more alive, more free, and yet there was a cool distance to her that I hadn't seen before. It made my stomach churn. I stayed on the edge of the group, keeping my distance, pretending to be just another participant. It was hard to focus on anything other than her. She had always been radiant, but today she seemed more so. She was glowing, moving with such grace that it made my heart ache. How had I missed this change? How had I missed her? It didn't take long before I saw him. The man. The one who had been sending her those texts. He was one of the instructors, and his presence was magnetic. Tall, with dark hair and an intense gaze. He exuded calm and confidence, the kind of person who commands attention without asking for it. He was teaching a morning meditation session, and I watched as she followed him through every word, every instruction, with complete focus. There was something different about the way she looked at him. It wasn't just the respect you'd give a teacher. There was something more there, something I couldn't quite place. I knew I should have turned away, should have left to give them some space, but I couldn't. I had to watch. I had to know. Over the next few days, I observed them, her and him. They had private conversations after every class, often in corners where no one else could hear. She'd laugh at his jokes, her body leaning in slightly, too comfortable, too intimate. It made my skin crawl, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. I was obsessed with the thought of what might be happening between them. Maybe they were just friends. Maybe it was nothing. But deep down, I knew the truth. The feeling in my gut wouldn't let me deny it. One evening, I was sitting by the lake, trying to clear my head, when I saw them together. They were walking side by side, talking low, heads close, their chemistry undeniable. My heart raced, my hands trembling. It wasn't a secret anymore. They were involved, whether emotionally or physically. I couldn't tell yet, but I was sure of one thing. She was no longer mine. She had become someone else's. As they paused by the water, I saw them exchange a look, one I couldn't ignore. It was the kind of look that said everything without saying a word. I could feel it in my bones. They were together, in a way that I had never been with her. I wanted to confront her right then. I wanted to march up to them, demand answers, scream at her. But I didn't. Instead, I just sat there, numb, as the last bit of light faded from the sky. The truth was there, plain as day, and it was breaking me. The following day, everything seemed to move in slow motion. I couldn't escape the image of her and him standing by the water, their closeness so obvious, their connection so undeniable. It was like my whole world had been flipped upside down. I had come here for answers, but now all I felt was a sinking sense of betrayal that threatened to swallow me whole. I had believed in her, trusted her, and yet here I was, watching her slip away, right in front of my eyes. The retreat had become a prison. I felt trapped in my own doubts, suffocated by the calm beauty of the place that seemed to mock the storm, raging inside me. She was still so graceful, so radiant in a way that made me want to reach out and touch her. But I couldn't anymore. Not after seeing what I'd seen. It felt like we were two strangers walking parallel paths, and I didn't know if I could ever bridge the distance again. The pain was almost physical. My chest ached with every breath I took, and I couldn't escape it. Not even in this place that was supposed to be about healing. The man, the instructor, was everywhere. It was as if he were drawn to her like a magnet. He would offer her guidance, his hand on her shoulder just a little too long, his voice just a little too intimate. Every touch, every glance, felt like a sharp blade to my heart. I tried to keep my distance, to hide my presence, but I was always watching, always looking for that next sign, that next confirmation of what I already knew. I had to know for sure. It wasn't enough to simply see them together, to feel the pull of jealousy and suspicion twisting inside me. I needed to hear it from her. I needed her to admit what was happening. By the third evening, I had reached my breaking point. I could no longer sit in silence, pretending I didn't see what was happening right in front of me. I knew she was at the main hall for a group session, and I decided that it was time. I was done waiting, done pretending like everything was normal. I had to confront her. No more games, no more hiding. I found her walking alone near the main building, heading back to her room. The sun was beginning to set, casting a soft golden glow across the retreat. She looked serene, at peace with herself, and it made my anger bubble up even more. How could she be so calm when everything between us was falling apart? I called her name and she turned, surprised but not entirely startled to see me. "Hey," she said softly, her smile warm, but there was something guarded in her eyes. She knew, somewhere deep down, that this conversation was coming. I didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Who is he?" My voice was low but sharp, the question hanging in the air between us like a charged wire. She blinked, a moment of hesitation, passing over her face. "What do you mean?" "You know exactly what I mean," I snapped, my chest tightening as I tried to hold back the flood of emotions threatening to break through. "The guy. The instructor. The one you've been spending so much time with." I paused, my throat tightening. "I saw the way you looked at him. The way you're always with him. The messages. The way he touches you. Don't pretend like I don't know what's going on." Her face paled slightly, and for a brief moment, I thought she might say something. Anything to explain herself, to tell me it wasn't what it looked like. But she didn't. Instead, she looked away, a deep breath escaping her lips. "Is it true?" I pressed, my voice breaking just a little. Are you having an affair with him?" Her eyes flickered back to me, filled with something I couldn't quite name. Regret, guilt, or maybe just sorrow for the mess we had become. She opened her mouth to speak, but the words didn't come right away. She was struggling. I could see it in the way her hands trembled slightly at her sides. Finally she spoke, but her voice was quieter than I expected. "It's not what you think," she said. "I never wanted to hurt you." I took a step forward, my frustration mounting. "Then what is it?" "Because all I see is you pulling away from me, from everything we had. I don't understand any of this. Her, him. I don't know where I fit into any of it anymore." The words were coming out faster now, the truth spilling out before I could stop it. "What happened to us?" She sighed, looking down at the ground, as if the weight of her own thoughts was too heavy to carry. "I never meant for you to find out like this." She shook her head, and I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. A vulnerability I hadn't seen in a long time. I needed this. I needed to find something I had lost along the way. I've felt empty for so long, and I thought this retreat would help me fill that emptiness. I didn't realize it was going to change everything. I didn't expect to feel this way. My heart clenched. "What way?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I could feel the ground shifting beneath me as her words began to break apart everything I thought I knew. "I don't know," she said, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "I came here looking for peace, for clarity. But what I found—" She trailed off, eyes glassy with emotion. "What I found was a connection. With him. I never thought it would happen. I didn't want it to. But it did." She looked up at me, her face full of a sadness I could barely comprehend. "I never meant to hurt you, but I didn't know how to deal with what I was feeling." I stood there, frozen, not knowing how to respond. Part of me wanted to scream, to demand more answers. Another part of me just wanted to collapse, to shut out everything she was saying because it hurt too damn much to hear. But all I could do was stand there in silence, my mind spinning, my world crashing down around me. She stepped closer, her voice soft. "I'm sorry. I never wanted you to feel like this. I never wanted to hurt you. But I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. And now, I don't know what to do." I felt a sharp pain in my chest. A pain that was so deep I couldn't breathe. She was standing there, telling me the truth, and all I could feel was the overwhelming weight of it. The trust I had built with her, the foundation of everything we were, crumbling before my eyes. And for the first time in years, I didn't know what came next. The silence between us stretched long and painful, the kind of silence that fills a room with more tension than any words ever could. I could hear the sounds of the retreat, distant laughter, the rustling of leaves in the wind, but they seemed miles away, like a different world entirely. The only thing that mattered in that moment was her, standing in front of me, eyes filled with regret, her confession hanging heavy between us. I wanted to scream at her, to ask how she could do this to me, to us. I wanted to rage, to demand answers, for every small moment I had overlooked. But the words wouldn't come. I couldn't form a coherent thought. My heart was in my throat, and I couldn't breathe through the sting of it. Everything I had built with her, the trust, the connection, the love, was shattering, and I was left standing in the ruins, watching it all fall apart. I don't know how we got here, I finally whispered, the words barely audible. It was a weak, defeated statement, but it was all I could muster. The confusion, the heartbreak, the betrayal. It was all too much. She stepped closer, her voice shaky, but still filled with an honesty I hadn't expected. I never wanted to hurt you, she repeated, her hands trembling as she reached out to touch mine. But I pulled back, unable to bear even the slightest touch. It felt wrong now, like everything that had been between us had turned into something foreign. I thought this retreat would help me figure things out, but all it did was open up a part of me that I didn't even know was missing. Missing? I echoed, my voice laced with disbelief. What was missing exactly? Us? Our marriage? She nodded, her face pained. I've been numb for so long, not because of you, but because of me, she said, her eyes welling with tears. I couldn't figure out what was wrong, and I thought I could fix it on my own. But I was wrong. I thought I needed space, but really, I needed to find someone, who could make me feel alive again. And it just happened. She was still speaking, but I couldn't hear her, not fully. The words were there, but they didn't make sense to me. I had spent years trying to build something with her. Us, together. We had been partners. We had faced challenges. And yet, in the span of a few days, everything she said made me question all of it. Had I not seen the signs? Had I been so blinded by my own complacency that I missed how deep her unhappiness ran? Or was this something that had always been there, festering quietly beneath the surface? I shook my head, my thoughts spiraling. So, this guy, I said, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. He's the one who woke you up? My chest tightened as I said it, and I hated how small and bitter my voice sounded. You've been talking to him, being with him, and that's what made you feel alive again? She winced, but didn't deny it. It's not that simple, she said softly. I wasn't looking for someone else. It wasn't about that. It was about me. About finding a connection that I thought I had lost with you. Her voice cracked slightly. And I didn't want it to be like this. I didn't want to hurt you, but I didn't know how to fix what was broken inside me. I couldn't process it. My head was spinning, my chest tight with a grief I didn't know how to handle. She was telling me that I wasn't enough, that whatever we had wasn't enough to save her from the emptiness she felt. And the hardest part was that I couldn't even blame her entirely. We had both failed somewhere along the way. We had stopped listening to each other, stopped connecting on a deeper level. I thought we were happy, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I thought we had something real. I didn't know you were this unhappy. How could you not have told me? How could you just drift away like that? I tried, she said quietly. But I didn't know how to ask for what I needed. I was so scared of losing you, of admitting how much I was struggling. I thought it would get better, on its own, but it didn't. And then I met him, and for the first time in a long time, I felt seen. I felt understood. A cold silence fell between us again. I stared at her, taking in the woman I had known so well, and yet felt like a stranger now. She was standing in front of me, vulnerable, raw, but I couldn't shake the feeling that everything had already changed. I don't know if I can come back from this, I finally admitted, my voice cracking with the weight of it. I don't know if we can go back to what we were. She looked at me, her face stricken with sadness. I don't know either, but I don't want to give up on us completely. I love you, and I'm so sorry. I know I've hurt you more than I can ever explain, but please understand. This wasn't about you. It was about me. I've been lost, and I've been trying to find my way back. Her words hung in the air like a quiet plea, but I didn't know how to answer. Part of me wanted to reach for her, to hold her and promise that everything would be okay. But the other part of me, the part that had been betrayed, knew that things could never be the same again. I need time, I said, the words tasting bitter and final. I need time to think, to figure out what this means for me, for us. I could barely look at her as I said it. But I can't pretend anymore. I can't act like everything's okay when I don't know what's real anymore. She nodded, her face full of sorrow and regret. I understand, she whispered. I'll give you the time you need. I just hope that someday you'll understand why I did what I did. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. I turned away, the weight of her confession heavy in my chest, suffocating me. I walked away from her, from everything I thought I knew, and as I left her standing there, I couldn't help but wonder if this was the last time I would ever look at her the same way. The retreat was no longer a place of peace for me. It was just a place of pain, where the truth had torn open wounds I didn't even know I had. And now, I had to figure out what came next. Whether there was a way to heal from this, or if this was the end of everything we had built together. The next few days passed in a blur of numbness. The retreat, with all its tranquil beauty and spiritual promises, became an unbearable prison. I woke up each morning, still reeling from the confrontation, feeling like an outsider in a place that was supposed to bring peace. Every moment seemed hollow. The yoga sessions, the meditation, the long walks by the lake, all of it felt like a mockery of what I had come here for. There was no clarity in the quiet here, only the deafening silence of my own thoughts, my own broken heart. I kept my distance from her. I didn't look at her, didn't speak to her unless it was absolutely necessary. The tension between us was palpable, a thick fog that clouded everything. When I did see her, she seemed like a ghost, someone I once knew, but could no longer reach. It wasn't just the betrayal that hurt. It was the knowledge that I had been blind to the distance growing between us for so long. All those little moments I had brushed off, those quiet nights when she had pulled away from me, the times she'd seemed so far away even when she was sitting right next to me. It had all led up to this. Every time I closed my eyes, I could hear her words again. I've been lost. I've been trying to find my way back. Those words replayed in my mind like an echo, haunting me with the realization that she had been so far gone for so long. It felt like a death, the slow death of a marriage I had believed in, a life I thought we were building together. I spent most of my time walking aimlessly around the retreat grounds, trying to outrun the thoughts in my head. The deep ache in my chest wouldn't go away. Sometimes I'd hear laughter from the other participants, people who seemed so light, so at ease, and I couldn't help but envy them. They had no idea what was happening in my world, the chaos I was trying to make sense of. I couldn't escape her. She was everywhere, even when she wasn't there. Her absence filled every space I tried to occupy. In the mornings, she would smile at the other participants she had gotten close to, the instructor included. She still had that glow about her, that lightness I had once admired. But it didn't feel like my wife anymore. This person, this version of her, felt like a stranger. I watched her from a distance, her laughter still echoing in my mind. She looked so alive, so free. It was everything I had wanted for her, everything I had hoped she would find in this retreat. But I never imagined it would come at the cost of us. She wasn't the same person who had left for this trip, and I wasn't the same person who had sent her off with a kiss. That evening, I sat on the dock by the lake, staring at the dark water, the ripples casting fleeting shadows. It was here, by this very water, that I had seen her with him. That same intimacy, that connection. Had it always been there, hidden beneath the surface of our marriage? Had I just been too blind to see it? I could feel the tears rising, but I refused to let them fall. I had cried too many times already, alone in my room, unable to stop the flood of emotion that came with the pain of what I had lost. The rawness of it was overwhelming. She had broken something in me, something I didn't know would shatter so easily. The sound of footsteps interrupted my thoughts, and I turned to see her standing at the edge of the dock, hesitant. She didn't approach, but her gaze was fixed on me. There was something different in the way she looked at me now. Softness, guilt, maybe even a hint of fear. She had no idea how to fix what she had done, and neither did I. But I couldn't keep running from this, from her. "I know you probably don't want to talk to me," she said quietly. her voice barely rising above the gentle breeze. "But I need to say something." I didn't respond immediately. I wasn't sure what to say, or if I even wanted to hear what she had to say. But I knew this silence between us, this painful, suffocating silence, wasn't helping either of us. Finally, I spoke, my voice hoarse. "What more is there to say, really? You've already told me what I needed to hear." I looked down at the water, the weight of her presence making everything feel heavier. "I don't know if there's anything left for us after this. I don't know how we come back from what you've done." Her face crumpled, her lips trembling as if she were holding back the tears I knew were there. "I don't want to lose you," she said, her voice desperate now, shaking with emotion. "I don't want to lose us. But I didn't know if we could go back to being us anymore. Could we ever really recover from this? Could I ever trust her again?" The thought of it made my stomach turn. "I'm not sure I can believe in us the way I did before," I said, the words tasting bitter. In my mouth, I've been trying to hold on to something that's already slipping through my fingers. I can't pretend anymore. She took a step closer, her voice breaking. "I don't expect you to forgive me right now. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. But please, can we just talk about this? Can we figure out what comes next, even if we have to do it slowly? I don't want to give up on what we've had on us." I felt torn in two. The words she was saying slicing through me. She was asking for something I wasn't sure I could give. I wanted to believe in her, in us, but every part of me felt shattered by the weight of her betrayal. "I don't know," I said finally, my voice cracking with the heaviness of it. "I don't know if I can." I turned away from her then, feeling the weight of every decision, every broken moment. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I couldn't keep living in the past, clinging to something that was already lost. As I walked away from her again, leaving her standing on the dock behind me, I couldn't help but feel like I was walking away from a part of myself, one that had believed in love, in trust, in the idea that we could get through anything together. And now, I didn't know what was left. The days that followed were a blur of contemplation and emotional exhaustion. I spent most of my time alone, wandering the retreat grounds like a ghost, unable to escape the constant echo of my own thoughts. The pain was suffocating, but the worst part was the uncertainty. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I could salvage anything from the wreckage of our relationship, or if it was even worth trying. Each time I saw her, the ache in my chest grew stronger. I wanted to confront her, to ask for clarity, to demand that she explain herself. But each time we came close to talking, I froze. The rawness of the situation left me paralyzed. I could feel the weight of her presence in the air, like an invisible thread pulling at my heart. Yet at the same time, there was a gulf between us that I didn't know how to bridge. She had been trying, I could tell. She'd been giving me space, respecting my need for time, but she was always there, her eyes on me, hoping for a sign, for some indication that I was still willing to fight for what we had. The problem was, I didn't know if I was. I didn't know if I could fight anymore. One evening, after another long day of silence between us, I found myself walking toward the lake again. The setting sun cast a reddish glow over the water, and the air was thick with the promise of rain. I didn't know why I was drawn to this place, but it felt like the only spot where I could think clearly, where I could breathe without feeling like I was drowning in my own pain. When I reached the water's edge, I saw her there again. She was standing by the same spot where we had confronted each other days ago, her back to me, staring out at the lake, lost in thought. For a moment, I thought about turning around, walking away, just leaving her behind and never looking back. But then she turned, as if sensing my presence, and her eyes met mine. There was something different in her gaze this time, no longer filled with the desperation that had marked our earlier conversations, but something softer, more vulnerable. She took a tentative step toward me, and for a moment, I could only stand there, paralyzed by the weight of everything unsaid between us. But this time, I didn't pull away. I didn't move. I've been thinking a lot, she said quietly, her voice tinged with the vulnerability I had come to recognize. About everything, about what I did to us. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. I wanted to tell her to stop, to tell her I didn't want to hear any more excuses or apologies. But the truth was, I did want to hear it. I wanted to understand why. I wanted to know how we had ended up here, how we had lost each other so completely. Don't know how we got here, she continued, her words fragile, as if each one was carefully chosen. But I know that I hurt you, and I hate myself for it. I never wanted to break what we had. My chest tightened. Then why did you do it? The words slipped out before I could stop them, bitter and raw. Why did you let it go this far? She closed her eyes briefly, a wave of emotion washing over her. I don't have a good answer for that. I don't even know why I did it. I just know that I couldn't keep pretending, couldn't keep ignoring how lost I felt inside. And when I met him, everything seemed to click. For a moment, I didn't feel so broken. But it was never supposed to go this far. I never meant for you to find out like this. I let out a breath, running a hand through my hair, my mind racing. The logic behind what she was saying was almost too much to bear. She had been lost. And in her search for something, anything to make her feel alive again, she had found someone else. It wasn't about him, or even about me. It was about her own emptiness, a void she had been desperately trying to fill. I've been selfish, she said, her voice quivering. And I'm sorry. I've spent so much time focusing on myself, on what I thought I needed, that I never stopped to think about how it was affecting you, how it was hurting us. I closed my eyes, the weight of her words crashing over me like a wave. The tears I had been holding back were right there, at the edge, but I couldn't let them fall, not yet, not in front of her. You can't just fix this with an apology, I said, my voice shaky. You can't just say you're sorry and expect everything to go back to the way it was. What you did, it changed things. It changed me. She stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. I know that I can't just fix this. But I want to try. I want to do whatever it takes to make things right. Even if it means giving you the space you need. Even if it means starting over. The idea of starting over seemed both impossible and desperately necessary at the same time. How could we possibly rebuild what had been broken? How could we even begin to find our way back to each other after everything that had happened? I don't know if I can forgive you, I said finally, my voice barely audible. I don't know if I can trust you again. I don't know if I can ever feel the same way about you. She nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. I don't expect you to forgive me right now, and I don't expect things to be the way they were. But I want you to know that I love you. I always have. And I'm willing to fight for us, for whatever this is now. Even if it's not the same. Even if it's different. I stood there in silence, the weight of everything hanging in the air between us. I wasn't sure what I felt anymore. Part of me wanted to walk away, to leave her behind and never look back. But another part of me, the part that still loved her, the part that still remembered the good times, was willing to give her a chance. It wasn't going to be easy. Nothing about this was going to be easy. But maybe, just maybe, there was a way forward. Maybe we could start from this broken place and find a new kind of connection. Maybe we could learn to trust each other again, piece by piece. But that wasn't something I could decide right now. Not in this moment. Not when everything still felt so raw. I don't know what's going to happen, I said, my voice thick with emotion, but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to see if we can make this work. If we can find a way back to each other. Her face softened, and for the first time in days, I saw a flicker of hope in her eyes. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep me standing there, to keep me from walking away. And maybe that was all we needed right now, a small spark of hope, a glimmer of something to hold on to. Because sometimes, that's all you can do when you're standing at a crossroads. Hold on to the possibility that things can get better, even if you don't know how. And for the first time since I walked into this retreat, I didn't feel completely lost. Maybe, Just maybe, we weren't too far gone to find our way back.